terrible discovery that this is way too long and it's just like not sending on anything. So I guess I'm gonna have to try to find a way to get this to you. Hopefully you're watching this. Anyways, moving right along, we're gonna move into adolescence, and I'm going to kind of do the same thing for adolescence that I did for middle childhood and go through all the questions. Here's my little picture for adolescence. I will explain these things. But yeah, so I kind of noticed my play, obviously, like we talked about in class and in the reading, started to kind of change. Like my physical play, besides sports, kind of like just running around in the woods and that kind of play, and imaginative play, obviously kind of declined and changed. Now I'm doing more, leisure activities and spending more time with peers and more like recreational activities, hanging out with some, not favorable people and experimenting and all that wonderful jazz. But yeah, more like going into my figuring out who I am and like what I'm interested in, and doing more like leisure activities rather than like that physical imaginary like play of running around in the woods and stuff like that. So I am going to touch on those three questions: who, what, where, but now with adolescence. As I started to grow up and be a cranky little teenager, not only did like the types of play that I participated in change, but like who I played with and who I spent time with, who I spent my leisure time with changed. So that's why I have this little guy right here. It says, the old that way and the new that way. Those neighborhood kids that I played with 24/7. We kind of went in different paths, different directions. We all had different interests and priorities. So, so that's what that represents. So the who I played with kind of started to change. I started to get more into, sports, and I was on Team Nova Scotia for soccer and played basketball and those kinds of things. And because of that, like, I kind of started playing, having more play with the people on my sports team, because I was driving to Halifax twice a week for provincial soccer, and then I was driving to Glasgow twice a week for my club team soccer. So most of my days were spent with my teammates rather than, my neighborhood pals that I used to play with. So that changed in adolescence. And then I also, again, back to privilege, I was going to high school in the boonies in the middle of Brookfield with a bunch of country folk, and I didn't quite fit in. So because of my parents' financial stability and my privilege, they graciously gifted me with a car when I turned 16, so I had the ability to change high schools and go to a high school in the big city, the big town of Truro, where I met new people that enjoyed my interests and enjoyed doing the same like leisure activities that I enjoyed doing. So that changed as well, and I met a whole new group of people. Some of them my parents probably wish I didn't meet. But yeah, so the who changed quite a lot, and I got my little phone here of what are you doing tonight, and it's me texting all my new friends, because like I said, now the play is kind of like moved on to having more independence and spending time with my friends like a lot more, and that was kind of like the main thing of my leisure, was like seeing my friends 24/7. Like my who and my what, my where I played and spent my leisure time with changed as well. So less time spent in my own backwoods, but because of my privilege, once again, having a car, my favorite thing to do, and still to this day, was drive a lot. I had a Honda Civic, and drive my little Honda Civic all over the place. So that's why I have my little adventure sign here, is because we would just end up in the middle of nowhere, 24/7. Like, I guess I didn't stray too far. I was still in the woods a lot. It's living in the rural life. You're in the woods 24/7. But yeah, so my where would just be anywhere that we could find. Weird places in the woods, abandoned buildings, strange places. And then my, favorite place of all time, which is the beach. We had many drives to the beach in high school, in my little broken down car, which was like an hour away, but we would, finish school and get dinner at the Thai food place and then drive like an hour to the beach and watch the sunset. And so where we were at the beach a lot. So that was kind of where I spent a lot of my time. Spent a lot of time in my car. That was kind of the where, and that, like we talked about in class too, like adolescent play, the emergence of your independence starts to form, and my independence was very closely linked to my car, which again, the privilege of having that car. And even to this day, I feel like very claustrophobic and trapped when I don't have access to my car. And that was my like form of independence, and that was where we spent a lot of our leisure time and a lot of our playtime was in my car, 24/7. But in my car driving, or in my car finding different weird places to go. So yeah, and spent time at skate park a lot as well. Movie theaters, little coffee shop, all of the little places you go in a small town in like a coming of age movie. On to the what. Also, this is my red hair. I had crazy bright red hair in adolescence. It was a interesting time. But what we did, a lot of skateboarding. Not that I could skateboard that well, but of course, the boys we were hanging out with, because the emergence of, deeper relationships and romantic interests kind of started. Hanging out at the skate park a lot, trying to with our little boyfriends. So we were at the skate park a lot and trying to skateboard. And then, like I said, I did play a lot of sports. Again, because of my privilege, I was on so many different sports teams, which were so expensive, and then the travel was so expensive, and so I was doing a lot of that. That's what I was playing, and we just like listened to music a lot. You guessed it, in my car, driving around listening to music very often, going to the beach, just like my leisure activities really, really did focus on being around my friends all the time. And surprisingly, I was still a very good student. I got honors. Like, I don't know how I did that, because I was running the roads. Yeah, so just like a lot of spending time with my friends and running the roads, and my social interaction, and my independence was forming, and I was figuring out my interests, and yeah, so like we talked about in class, that building like a new framework, which was my individual interests, and then my social interests, and the environment, all gave way to the leisure that occurred in my everyday life. So yeah, everything really started to change, and I started to play less, and I thought I was really cool, and spent a lot of time with my cool friends, and doing silly, goofy little play was for babies, and all that jazz. I'm sure you know.